The bus lurched forward just as Nina Alvarez missed the last step, her coffee sloshing dangerously close to the rim. She cursed under her breath, steadying herself as the doors hissed shut behind her. "Every damn morning," she muttered. The bus was packed, tired faces, earbuds in, shoulders hunched. The city hadn't fully woken up yet, but it was already asking for everything. Nina squeezed down the aisle, gripping the pole as the driver took off too fast. That was when she noticed him. He stood near the back, one hand holding the overhead strap, the other clutching a worn backpack that looked like it had survived too many years and not enough money. His jacket was clean but thin, shoes scuffed at the toes. Nothing about him screamed importance. If anything, he looked like everyone else on the bus, trying to get through the morning without losing his mind. The bus hit a pothole. Nina stumbled. He caught her elbow before she fell. "Hey," he said quickly. "You good?" She blinked, surprised. Yeah, thanks. No problem." He let go immediately, like he didn't want to overstep. That alone made her pause. Most men either lingered too long or didn't bother at all. They stood in silence for a moment, the bus rattling around them. "Rough morning?" he asked. She huffed a laugh. "Is there any other kind?" He smiled, smalt, genuine. "Fair." She noticed his eyes then. Calm. Observant. Like he was actually listening instead of waiting to speak. "I'm Nina," she said, surprising herself. "Jonah," he replied. "Nice to meet you." The bus screeched to a stop. People started pushing toward the doors. "Guess this is me," she said. "Same," he replied, adjusting his backpack. They stepped off together into the cold morning air. For a second, it felt like something lingered between them, an unspoken pause, like a door left half open. "Maybe I'll see you around," he said. "Maybe," she replied. She walked toward the cafe where she worked, not thinking much of it. Just another stranger on another bus. She didn't know that was the moment everything tilted. Jonah watched her go until she disappeared inside the cafe. Then his phone buzzed. He ignored it. Inside the cafe, Nina tied her apron and jumped straight into the morning rush. Orders flew. Cups clattered. Her manager barked reminders about efficiency and upselling like it was a religion. Still, Nina's mind kept drifting back to the guy on the bus. Jonah. Something about the way he'd stepped in without making it a thing. The way he'd smiled like he wasn't trying to impress anyone. Table 6, her coworker snapped, pulling her back. "They've been waiting." "Got it." By noon, she was exhausted. Her break came late and short. She stepped outside, gulping air like she'd been underwater all morning. She almost didn't notice Jonah sitting on the curb across the street, eating a sandwich wrapped in paper. Almost. He looked up and saw her staring. "Hey," she laughed. "You're stalking me now?" He raised his hands. "Pure coincidence." "I promise." She crossed the street. "Mind if I sit?" "Please." They sat side by side, the city humming around them. "So," she said, "Jonah, what do you do?" He hesitated, just a fraction of a second. "A bit of this, a bit of that. I'm between things." She nodded. "Same. Always." He glanced at her apron. "You like it?" "The cafe. It pays the bills," she said. "Mostly." "Mostly?" She shrugged. "Rent doesn't care how hard you work." He smiled sadly. "That's true." They talked through the rest of her break. About nothing. About everything. About how the city could feel lonely even when it was crowded. About dreams that felt too expensive to chase. When her break ended, she stood reluctantly. "I should go." "Yeah," he said. "Me too. Back to figuring life out." She hesitated. "Do you want to, maybe get coffee sometime? When I'm not wearing an apron?" His eyes brightened. "I'd like that." They exchanged numbers. That night, Jonah stood in a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the city, phone in hand, staring at her contact name. Nina Alvarez. Behind him, the apartment glowed with quiet luxury, custom furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, art worth more than most people's houses. "Sir," a voice said from behind him. He stiffened. "Not tonight," Jonah said without turning. "And don't call me that when I'm here." Elliot Graves paused. "Understood. Caleb." Jonah closed his eyes. Caleb Whitmore hadn't ridden a bus in years. He hadn't worried about rent since his early 20s. He hadn't eaten a sandwich on a curb because it was all he could afford. But Nina didn't know that. And right now, he wanted to keep it that way. The first date was cheap on purpose. A diner with cracked booths and a flickering neon sign. Nina offered to split the bill before he could even suggest it. "Thank you," he said, relieved. "For what?" "For not making it weird." She smirked. "I don't date wallets." He smiled, guilt curling low in his stomach. They talked for hours. About childhood. About regrets. About the kind of life they didn't want. "I hate men who need to feel bigger than everyone else," Nina said at one point. "Money just makes it worse." Caleb nodded, swallowing. "Yeah, power does strange things to people." She studied him. "You sound like you know that firsthand." "Maybe," he said carefully. Over the next weeks, they fell into an easy rhythm. Bus rides together. Cheap meals. Late-night walks. Nina complained about work. Jonah complained about his landlord. She liked that he never tried to impress her. Never offered to fix her problems. Never made promises he couldn't keep. She liked that he listened. What she didn't see were the moments in between. The luxury car parked 3 blocks away so she wouldn't notice. The tailored suit hidden under thrift-store clothes. The calls he silenced before he saw her. "Sir, the board needs you," Elliot said one night over the phone. "Not now," Caleb replied. "They're getting impatient." "So can they. You can't keep pretending forever." Caleb stared at Nina laughing at something on her phone across the room. "I'm not pretending." Elliot sighed. "You're lying." Caleb hung up. One evening, Nina came over to Jonah's place for the first time. A small apartment he rented specifically for this lie. Sparse. Clean. Convincing. "Wow," she said. "You really are broke." He laughed. "Too quickly." "Told you." She flopped onto the couch. "Honestly? It's refreshing." That word hit him harder than it should have. Refreshing. As if this version of him, smaller, quieter, stripped of power, was the better one. She curled up beside him, head resting against his shoulder. "Promise me something?" "What?" "If this turns into something real, don't ever lie to me." His chest tightened. "I promise." The lie settled between them, heavy and silent. And somewhere deep down, Caleb Whitmore knew. The longer he stayed Jonah Reed, the more devastating the truth would be when it finally surfaced. Nina woke up to the sound of Jonah moving around the apartment, drawers opening and closing quietly like he was trying not to wake her. She kept her eyes shut, listening. "You don't have to sneak," she said, voice rough with sleep. He froze. "Sorry. Didn't mean to." She rolled onto her side, propping herself up on one elbow. "Where are you going so early?" He hesitated, just long enough for her to notice. "Job interview." "On a Saturday?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah. Startup thing. They don't really care about weekends." She studied him, trying to read his face. "You nervous?" "A little," he admitted. She smiled. "That's a good sign. Means you care." He leaned down and kissed her forehead. "I'll text you later." "Good luck," she said. As soon as the door closed, Nina stared at the ceiling, a strange tightness settling in her chest. It wasn't suspicion exactly. More like awareness. Like her instincts were tapping her shoulder, trying to get her attention. She shook it off and got dressed. Across town, Caleb Whitmore stepped into a private elevator, the doors closing silently behind him. The reflective walls showed a version of himself Nina had never seen: tailored coat, polished shoes, posture that commanded space without trying. The elevator opened directly into a boardroom. "About time," Vivian Locke said coolly, eyes scanning him like a judge. Caleb took his seat at the head of the table. "I told you I'd be late." "You told us you were busy," she replied. "The board is concerned." Elliot Graves cleared his throat. "We've delayed the acquisition twice. Investors are asking questions." Caleb steepled his fingers. "Then tell them the truth." Vivian laughed softly. "Which truth?" "That the great Caleb Whitmore is skipping meetings to play house with a barista." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Watch your mouth." "Or what?" she shot back. "You'll fire me? Go ahead. Half the board already thinks you've lost focus." I haven't, he said evenly. You have, Vivian insisted. You're distracted. Emotional. Reckless. Caleb stood. This meeting is over. Elliot followed him out. You can't keep doing this. I know, Caleb said quietly. Then stop. Caleb didn't answer. That evening, Nina was waiting on the front steps when Jonah came back. She held up a bag. I cooked. His eyes widened. You cooked? Don't sound so shocked, she said. I'm not completely useless. I didn't say that, he laughed. I'm just impressed. They ate on the floor, backs against the couch. Nina talked about work drama. Jonah listened like it mattered. Then she asked, casually, how'd the interview go? He took a sip of water. Good. I think. You think? Well, they asked a lot of questions. That's usually how interviews work. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. She noticed. You okay? Yeah, he said too quickly. Just tired. She leaned her head against his shoulder. You don't have to carry everything alone, you know. The irony burned. Over the next few weeks, the cracks widened. Jonah knew too much about contracts, about investments, about corporate structures. When Nina mentioned a coworker struggling with debt, he casually suggested a restructuring strategy that made her blink. How do you know that? She asked one night. He shrugged. Google. She laughed. You don't strike me as a reads financial blogs for fun guy. He forced a smile. Surprise? Another time, they were walking downtown when a black luxury car pulled up near the curb. The driver got out quickly, eyes locking on Jonah. Jonah turned his face away just in time. Do you know him? Nina asked. No, he said instantly. Probably thought I was someone else. She frowned but let it go. Still, the feeling lingered. One night, Nina brought it up to Tasha over drinks. I don't know, Nina said, swirling her glass. Something feels off. Off how? Tasha asked. He's great. He listens. He never pressures me. But sometimes it's like he's pretending. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Pretending to be what? I don't know. Smaller than he is. That's not the worst thing, Tasha said. Plenty of men pretend to be bigger. Yeah, but this feels different. Tasha leaned in. Listen to me. If your gut is talking, don't mute it just because you like the sound of his voice. Nina nodded slowly. The next night, Nina asked Jonah directly. Is there anything you're not telling me? He stiffened. She watched his face carefully. I'm not accusing you of anything. I need honesty. He took her hands. Nina, I swear to you, everything that matters is real. That's not what I asked. He swallowed. I'm not lying to you. The words were true. And not. She searched his eyes. Okay. But something in her tone said she wasn't convinced. The turning point came on a Tuesday. Nina had picked up an extra shift and left work early to surprise Jonah. She took the bus to his apartment, smiling to herself as she climbed the stairs. The door was unlocked. Jonah, she called. No answer. She stepped inside. The apartment looked the same until she noticed the closet door cracked open. Inside, behind his cheap jackets, was a glimpse of something dark and expensive-looking. Her heart thudded. She pulled the jacket aside. A tailored suit. Italian. Perfectly pressed. Designer labels still attached. Her stomach dropped. She heard a voice behind her. Don't. She turned slowly. Jonah stood there, panic flashing across his face before he could hide it. What is this? She asked, holding up the suit. He closed his eyes. Nina. Don't, she said sharply. Just tell me. He took a breath. It's old. Bullshit. He flinched. Try again, she said, voice shaking. Who are you? Silence. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it. Nina saw the name. Elliot Graves. Answer it, she said. Nina. Answer it. He did. Sir, Elliot said, voice calm, professional. The board vote has been moved to tonight. Vivian is pushing hard. We need you here. Nina felt like the floor had vanished beneath her. Sir, she repeated faintly. Jonah, Caleb, closed his eyes. Elliot paused. Is this a bad time? Nina laughed, a broken sound. Who the hell are you? Caleb ended the call. The silence that followed was unbearable. My name isn't Jonah, he said finally. It's Caleb. She backed away from him. Caleb what? Whitmore. The name hit like a gunshot. She knew it. Everyone did. No, she whispered. No. You're lying. I wish I was, he said. Her chest burned. How long? From the beginning. She shook her head violently. So, every word. No, he cut in. Everything I felt was real. That's not your call, she screamed. You don't get to decide what's real when you built it on a lie. Tears streamed down her face now, uncontrolled. You let me think you were struggling. You let me pay for things. You let me worry about you. He reached for her. She slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. I never meant to hurt you. You never meant to tell me, she shot back. He had no answer. She grabbed her bag, hands shaking. I trusted you. I know. You promised me. I know. Her voice broke. I loved you. The word hung in the air like something fragile and shattered. She walked out. Caleb stood alone in the apartment, surrounded by a life he had built on borrowed truth. And for the first time, being a billionaire felt like being completely powerless. Nina didn't remember how she got home. She remembered the door closing behind her, the echo of it in the stairwell, the way her hands shook so badly she had to sit on the floor just to breathe. Her phone buzzed once. Twice. She didn't look. She turned it face down like it might burn her. Hours passed. Maybe days. Time folded in on itself. When she finally stood, her reflection in the mirror startled her. Eyes red. Face pale. Like she'd been hollowed out. Her phone buzzed again. Jonah, Caleb, please. Let me explain. She threw the phone onto the couch. By morning, the city moved on as if nothing had happened. Nina didn't. She went to work on autopilot, smiling at customers with a mouth that didn't feel like hers anymore. Tasha noticed immediately. Okay, Tasha said, blocking her in the break room. Talk. Nina tried to brush past. I'm fine. Lie better, Tasha replied. Nina's breath hitched. She sat down hard on a crate, hands gripping her knees. He lied to me. Tasha's face softened. Who? Jonah. The name tasted wrong now. His name isn't Jonah. Tasha frowned. What do you mean? Nina laughed once, sharp and empty. He's a billionaire. Silence. Tasha blinked. I'm sorry, what? Caleb Whitmore, Nina said. That Caleb Whitmore. Tasha stared at her like she'd lost her mind. The tech guy? The one who? Yes. Tasha sat slowly. You're serious. I wish I wasn't. Okay, Tasha said carefully. Explain. Slowly. Before I pass out. Nina told her everything. The bus. The dates. The apartment. The promise. Tasha's jaw clenched tighter with every word. He let you believe he was broke. Yes. He let you worry about him. Yes. He watched you struggle and said nothing. Yes. Tasha stood abruptly. Oh, I hate him. Nina flinched. Don't. Don't what? Tasha snapped. He manipulated you. He says he loved me. Tasha turned, eyes blazing. Love doesn't start with deception. Nina covered her face. I know. That night, Caleb stood in the penthouse, staring at the city like it had personally betrayed him. Elliot hovered near the door, silent. She won't answer, Caleb said. Elliot nodded. I expected that. Caleb turned sharply. You expected her to walk away? I expected her to feel betrayed, Elliot replied. Because she was. Caleb dragged a hand down his face. I didn't lie about my feelings. You lied about your life, Elliot said gently. People don't separate those things. Caleb laughed bitterly. I was trying to protect something real. Elliot met his gaze. You don't protect love by controlling the truth. Caleb's phone buzzed again. Nothing. Vivian Locke entered without knocking. She found out. Caleb didn't respond. You should have told her sooner, Vivian continued. Now you've made a mess. She's not a mess, Caleb snapped. She's a person. Vivian arched a brow. Funny. You didn't treat her like one when you decided what she was allowed to know. Caleb turned away. You want my advice? Vivian said. Let her go. You've already done enough damage. Caleb's voice was quiet. I can't. Nina didn't sleep that night. Or the next. Caleb texted, called, left a voicemail she deleted without listening. On the third day, she answered. What? She said flatly. Silence on the line. Then his voice. I'm not calling to convince you to forgive me. She scoffed. That's new. I just want to tell you the truth, he said. All of it. No filters. No protection. Her throat tightened. You had months to do that. I know. She closed her eyes. Say it. I grew up poor, Caleb said. Really poor. I worked my way up. And every time I told someone who I was, they stopped seeing me. They saw the money, the power, the leverage. So you decided to take my choice away instead, Nina said. Yes. That's not better. I know. She swallowed. Why didn't you stop when it got serious? Because by then, he said, voice breaking, I was terrified of losing you. She laughed softly. You lost me the moment you lied. Silence. I don't expect you to trust me again, Caleb said. I just needed you to know I never thought of you as less. I admired you. Her voice cracked. You admired me while watching me struggle. I wanted to help, he whispered. You wanted to control the terms, she shot back. Another silence. I'm not calling again, he said finally. I won't chase you. But if you ever want to talk, really talk, I'll be here. She hung up. Weeks passed. Nina rebuilt herself in small ways. She stopped checking her phone. She stayed late at work. She learned how to breathe again. Caleb tried to do the same. He threw himself into work, but the meetings felt hollow. The wins meaningless. One evening, Elliot approached him quietly. She's moving. Caleb's head snapped up. Where? Different neighborhood. Fresh start. Caleb nodded slowly. Good. Elliot hesitated. She didn't take your money. I never offered it. She returned the watch you left at her place. Caleb's chest tightened. Okay. Months later, fate intervened. Nina was leaving a bookstore when a crowd gathered near the curb. Black cars. Security. Cameras. She tried to turn away, but it was too late. Caleb stepped out of the car. Their eyes met. The world shrank. He looked different. Not softer. Just honest. No disguise. She considered walking away. He didn't stop her. That's what made her pause. They stood there, surrounded by noise, saying nothing. Finally, she spoke. You look like yourself. He nodded. So do you. A beat. Can we talk? He asked. She hesitated. 5 minutes. They walked to a quiet corner. I won't apologize again, Caleb said. I've already done that. Good, Nina replied. Apologies don't fix betrayal. I know, he said. I'm here to listen. She took a breath. You took something from me. I know. You took my ability to choose you, she said. You don't get that back just because you regret it. I know. She studied him. Why are you really here? Because I wanted to see you, he said simply. Not to win you back. Just to see you. She nodded slowly. Okay. They stood in silence. Her phone buzzed. Tasha. Nina ignored it. 5 minutes are up, she said. Caleb nodded. Thank you for giving them to me. She turned to leave. Nina, he said softly. I loved you as Jonah. But if there's ever a future, it has to be with Caleb. Fully. Or not at all. She didn't look back. We'll see. And for the first time since the truth came out, Caleb felt something shift. Not hope, but consequence. Nina didn't expect to see Caleb again after the bookstore. She told herself that moment was closure enough. A coincidence. A loose end tied. But life didn't agree. 2 weeks later, she got laid off. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No accusations. Just a quiet meeting, a rehearsed apology, and a severance packet slid across a desk like it was doing her a favor. She packed her locker in silence, nodded goodbye to coworkers who avoided her eyes, and stepped out into the afternoon feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. She walked. No destination. Just movement. That was how she ended up in the rain again, standing under the awning of a closed cafe, watching water pool at the curb. A familiar voice spoke behind her. You always walk when you're overwhelmed. She turned slowly. Caleb stood a few feet away, no security in sight, coat unbuttoned, rain dampening his hair. He looked ordinary. Not Jonah. Not the billionaire. Just a man who knew her patterns. Her first instinct was anger. Her second was exhaustion. "How do you keep finding me?" she asked. "I didn't," he said. "Elliot told me you got laid off. I came to check on you. Saw you from across the street." She looked away. "I don't need rescuing." "I know," he said immediately. "That's why I didn't approach." She studied him. "You're learning." A faint smile tugged at his mouth. "You taught me a few things." Silence stretched. Finally, she said, "I have nowhere to be right now." "Can I walk with you?" he asked. "No agenda." She hesitated, then nodded once. They walked side by side, neither rushing to fill the space. After a block, Nina spoke. "I'm not mad anymore." Caleb exhaled slowly. "That's something." "I didn't say I forgave you. I wouldn't expect that." She glanced at him. "I don't hate you either. And that scares me more than anger would." He nodded. "I understand." They stopped at a crosswalk. "Why did you really pretend to be poor?" she asked. Not the polished answer. The ugly one. He didn't deflect this time. "Because I didn't trust myself to be loved without stripping everything away. And because I didn't trust anyone else not to take advantage of what I had." "So you controlled the narrative," she said quietly. "Yes. And in doing that," she continued, "you took control away from me." "Yes." The light changed. They crossed. "I won't build anything on that again," Nina said. "Ever." "I know," Caleb replied. "That's why if there's anything between us now, it has to start from zero. No disguises. No protection. No power imbalance." She stopped walking. "Zero means no money saving you. No influence smoothing things over. No safety net." "I know. Are you actually capable of that?" she asked. He met her gaze. "I don't know. But I'm willing to learn. Or fail trying." She searched his face, looking for manipulation. She didn't find it. Just honesty. Late, imperfect, but real. "I need time," she said. "I'll give you all of it," he replied. Days passed. Then weeks. They didn't rush. They didn't define anything. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. Caleb helped her revise her resume, but only when she asked. He never offered connections unless she brought it up. When she did, he was transparent about what he could and couldn't do without crossing lines. She took a temporary job. She found her footing again. One evening, Nina invited him over, not to the old apartment, but to her new place. Smaller. Brighter. Hers. He brought takeout. She teased him for ordering
I think
too
this
much.
might be the best takeout
"You
we've
still
had
think
in
like a
weeks.
rich guy," she said.
Definitely, the flavors are
laughed.
spot on.
I'm
I think
unlearning.
this might be the best takeout we've
They
had
ate
in
on the floor.
weeks.
Definitely,
At one
the
point,
flavors
she
are spot
asked,
on.
"Do you ever miss being Jonah?" Caleb considered it. Sometimes. He was lighter. Less guarded. "And fake," she added. "Yes," he said. "But he showed me who I could be without hiding behind power." She nodded. "Then don't lose that." "I won't." Later that night, when he stood to leave, she surprised herself by stopping him. "Caleb." He turned. "I don't know what this is yet," she said. "But if it becomes something, it has to be honest even when it's uncomfortable." He stepped closer. "I swear to you. No more versions. Just me." She nodded. "Okay." They didn't kiss. Not yet. And that mattered. Months later, Nina stood outside a new building, keys in hand, heart racing. Caleb stood beside her, hands in his pockets, letting her lead. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. She smiled. "I'm terrified." "So yes." She unlocked the door and stepped into her own space. Her own venture. Small. Independent. Built without shortcuts. Caleb looked around, impressed, but careful not to overwhelm her with praise. "You did this," he said. "I did," she agreed. She turned to him. "And you didn't save me." "No," he said softly. "You saved yourself." She smiled. That night, when they finally kissed, it wasn't fireworks or drama. It was quiet. Grounded. Real. Later, lying side by side, Nina whispered, "I fell for the wrong version of you." Caleb didn't argue. "I know. But I'm choosing this one," she added. "And I need you to understand, that's a choice I get to make every day." He held her hand. "I won't ever take that from you again." Outside, the city moved on. Inside, two people rebuilt something fragile with care instead of illusion. And for the first time, the truth wasn't something to fear. It was the foundation. If you stayed till the end, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories about love, power, and truths that change